my name's Lily, welcome to my channel. This is the mid-year freakout tag. I figure it's probably mid-year enough to freak out. This is a very special tag. You answer questions, you give answers to those questions, and I just said the same thing twice. Let the questions begin. The best book that I've read so far in 2016 has most definitely been This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. It's so cool. It's a dystopian book. It takes place in America, but there are monsters everywhere. So like there's monster hunters and monsters being hunted. Half the book is told from a human's perspective and half the book is told from a monster's perspective. And it's just so cool. I've read a lot of fun books this year, but that one was the most amazing. Question 2 is the best sequel. It's not really a question, it's more just like a statement. What is the best sequel that you've read in 2016 so far? Believe it or not, I have only read 2 sequels this year. Well, actually that's not true. No, that's not true at all. I did read the second Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants book, but then I also started this one series, and it's the only series that I've been reading so far. It's the Princess Diaries series. I've read 5 now? I think there are 9 books in total. So my favorite sequel so far has been the 3rd Princess Diaries book. I really like them because I like the diary format. I think it's really creative and I think the books are really funny. Not to mention I grew up with the Princess Diaries movies, so they're nostalgic, and the 3rd book in the series has been my favorite so far. I actually feel like it could have ended with the 3rd book, so I don't know why there are 9, but as far as the question goes, that's my answer. Statement 3. New release you haven't read yet but want to. So I definitely had to go Google new releases in first half of 2016 because I don't keep track of these things. But then I remembered. I have 2 new releases that I've been dying to read. The first one I have right now, because I just started it, Our Dark Duet, the sequel to This Savage Song. It's pretty good. I am not very far in, so I really can't tell at this point, but I don't think Victoria Schwab can do any bad writing. It's just not possible. So there's one. I've been seeing this book everywhere, and I've been seeing a particular edition of it that has caught my eye. It's called Strange the Dreamer by Blaney or Lonnie Taylor, and there are some rare editions, I don't know if they're actually rare, but they're rare to me, where the edges are blue. Kind of like Six of Crows where they're black. These ones are blue, and I really want that one. But I haven't been able to find it, so I have not bought it yet. So I've heard that book is really good from a lot of people, so that's fun. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. This was another thing I did not know off the top of my head. So I did some Googling again, and I came up with Iron Gold by Pierce Brown, which is a spin-off, prequel, I don't know, it's something, and it goes along with the Red Rising trilogy. Red Rising was so good. So cool. Statement 5. Biggest disappointment. So there have been books this year that I've just had to put down because I just couldn't see them going anywhere that I would like. So I'm not going to include those ones. But my biggest disappointment out of the books that I've actually completed has been The Princess Diaries 4. Because I liked the 3rd one, and then the 4th one was just kind of a letdown. That was my biggest disappointment. Otherwise, I have not been very disappointed this year. Like at all. I've read a lot of good books. Statement 6. Biggest surprise. The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. I can't believe I had never heard of this before last month. Apparently it's a classic, and I think it came out around the same time as Harry Potter, so I wonder if maybe Harry Potter overshadowed it. The Golden Compass was really good. I couldn't believe how detailed it was and how special and unique the world that it's set in was. So it's set in this world that's pretty much Earth, but there's magic. People just talk a little differently and everyone has a sort of a different understanding about the world. It reminded me of Narnia. And apparently there are 2 others that follow it, but so much happened in the first book. I feel like I'm gonna have to separate out the books a little ways because I couldn't read all 3 in a row because that's just so much information. It's a really good book. Statement 7. Favorite new author. It was a really close call. actually. It was between Victoria Schwab, Meg Cabot, who's the author of the Princess Diaries books, Philip Pullman, but my favorite author so far has been Ruta Sepetys. She wrote Salt to the Sea, which is a historical fiction, and I think she mainly writes historical fiction, but I just really love her writing. Statement 8 says, newest fictional crush, and I have, no comment. Let's move on. Statement 9. Newest fictional character. I mean, newest favorite character. Do you realize how many characters are in books? There's a lot of options. But I narrowed it down to Max from The Wild Things, or the shoemaker from Salt to the Sea. Max I loved because he's really impulsive, but he has the motivation to be impulsive. I feel like usually when someone will do something crazy in a book, it's like, oh, why'd you do that? That's so weird. But it didn't seem out of place for Max to do things like that, because it's just who he is. So I really like how that was used in this story, and I really like his character a lot. And then the shoemaker is from Salt to the Sea. He's just kind of there throughout the whole story. It's not his story, but he's with the main characters. He always has some good words of wisdom to share. And he's also very compassionate, which was very needed in a war story. Statement 10. Book that made you cry. Salt to the Sea. It's about war, so it is very sad. And I didn't actually cry because I never cry at books, but there were some sad times. Statement 11. Book that made you happy. Love Does by Bob Goff. This is not a work of fiction. This is a collection of stories from this man's life where he just tells about the times where he chose to do the crazy thing. It's really inspiring. This guy has been on so many crazy adventures and he does things that I only dream of doing. But this book made me feel like good things will come of it if I ever actually did decide to follow through on my crazy plans. Statement 12. Most beautiful book you've bought this year or received. I almost chose Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, but if I'm being realistic, it's not very beautiful. So instead, I will say this beautiful copy of Wicked. It's shiny everywhere. And I love that it's green. Look at that. That's super scary. The inside is nice too. It's got maps. Here's an actual question. Number 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? I don't need to read any books. If I tell myself that I need to read something, it's almost certain that I will not do it. Some books that I'd like to read by the end of the year are Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, because I got it for Christmas and it's been sitting there and it's so pretty looking that it's gotta be good on the inside too, right? I started it and it was just a little too complicated for me at the time, so I haven't gotten back to it yet, but I really want to read this. So that's one that I sort of need to read, but don't tell me that. Lord of the Rings. Technically I have read the first one before, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me, so I'd love to go back to it. I just watched all 3 movies the other day and they were so good, and an obsession is starting deep in my heart. I thought this was just the first book, but guess what? This is all 3 books. And because it is a confusing book at times, I have found this most helpful. It's called Tolkien, a Dictionary. Any person, place, or thing that you have questions about, this is a dictionary for those things. Don't know what an elf is? Great, me either. Let's look at the book. La la la. This is a very helpful guide to have. Even as I was watching the movies, I was looking in here to try to look up random names that were thrown out. So I'm not gonna sit down and read this cover to cover, but this is definitely going to be a book that I have by my side, probably for the rest of the year. Statement number 14, which is our last statement, says, favorite book community member. I can't choose a favorite. Everyone's the best person. I would say you, because you're awesome and you probably like books. And that concludes the mid-year book freakout tag. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like before you leave and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. Again, my name is Lily. This is my channel. Welcome to it. And I'm sure you'll see me soon. Bye! And bye. And bye.